So in my last competitive pre-look, I said we're going to talk about the new Pokemon. And the new Pokemon reveal did not disappoint because Passimian and Oranguru, oh my goodness, the potential with these Pokemon is absolutely ridiculous. So once again, we don't know the stats of these Pokemon, but still really fun to try to figure out what they could possibly do based off their abilities and also their design. You know, it might give us an insight as to how their stats play out, but we can get a good idea as to what some Pokemon are capable of. And Passimian, like, it gets the receiver ability. So Passimian has a new ability, Receiver, which no other Pokemon's previously had. With the Receiver ability, this Pokemon can inherit the ability of an ally who faints in battle. Whew, okay, we already saw this happen in the video that revealed all these Pokemon. That, yeah, the Pokemon goes down, Passimian grabs the ability, and my first thought was, yo, what if we have self-inflicted fainting? That way you can control the ability. And then my next thought immediately after was, yo, Memento plus Whimsicott. That means you can give Passimian turn 1 Prankster or a turn 2 Prankster under Tailwind. I'm already expecting Passimian to be a fairly fast and agile Pokemon, but if it isn't, we can help out its speed, but you can do whatever with Whimsicott. Yeah, you do your setup, and then you Memento, and that also weakens your opponents. So Passimian can either protect on that turn or try to damage the Pokemon that's least of a threat, and then with the Whimsicott Prankster, Memento is going to be able to drop that Pokemon's attack and special attack by 2, which means no damage is going to happen on Passimian, and then everything is going to be just fine. So, from what we know, pure fighting type Pokemon, so that's going to be really interesting. Contrary, something to consider, if it's a fighting type Pokemon, might get close combat, similar to Infernape. And if you can find a way of making your contrary Pokemon faint in battle, or just like wait for that to happen, hey, Passimian now has the ability to contrary close combat and do a lot of ridiculous things. So there's just like a lot of opportunities and things to think about. Healing Wish, Explosion, Self-Destruct. So Passimian can protect on an explosion turn or turn 1 something, and then that's going to be able to give it all kinds of abilities. Cloyster's an interesting one because you can give Passimian Skill Link, Tough Claws off of the Metagross, and just, yeah, I'll post like maybe a list of all of these because there's some interesting ones that could be very beneficial, and there's some ones that aren't that crazy. Like, alright, you can have Snorlax use Self-Destruct and then give it immunity on the Passimian, but I'm thinking that the Memento, like, Whimsicott Passimian combo already looks pretty strong right there, depending on the status moves that Passimian gets, because, like, it doesn't really work out if it doesn't have any kind of status, depending on how much of a fighter it's going to be. But who knows, maybe Game Freak gets overconfident. They have a moveset where it has a really weird status move that shouldn't be able to get priority, but then it does, and then the game dies. So there we go. Next up, Oranguru. This Pokemon is another one that is really scary. Not because of the inner focus or the telepathy ability or anything, but because of its signature move, Instruct. It's a move that Oranguru can learn. It makes the selected target use its most recent move again immediately. So think about it like Round, that if you use Round and then another Pokemon on your team uses Round, it gets to use Round immediately. So if you have the fastest Pokemon on the field, you now have the fastest Pokemon on the field twice using its strongest move. So naturally a lot of people are thinking, yo, you like Scarf Eruption, you Scarf Water Spout, and then everything dies. Because, okay, Scarf Eruption, Oranguru uses Instruct, and then you Scarf Eruption again. So it's one of the weirdest things because you are giving up Oranguru's move. You are technically using like 2 moves only in the turn, but if you're having your carry Pokemon that's already getting the craziest amounts of damage, you know, you can't have 2 of the exact same Pokemon with the exact same item. So in theory, having like a double choice Scarf Kyogre or a double choice Scarf anything with Eruption isn't going to be possible, but Oranguru makes it possible by effectively just giving up its turn, by effectively giving that up. Also, has telepathy, it has inner focus, it's a normal psychic, it has really good typing, so it might also be a really good support Pokemon. Maybe it gets Heal Pulsed. It is seen as a healer, you know, right here. Oranguru called the people of the forest. Oranguru is kind to other Pokemon living in the forest, providing medicine for injured Pokemon and food for the hungry. So, Heal Pulse, definitely on the table as an option. I'm also wondering if it's like full supportive, you know, maybe it gets Wide Guard, maybe it gets Quick Guard. So it might also have the potential to really change the battle by protecting your super mega carry Pokemon. I mean, you use Quick Guard so you can stop Fake Out, and then you Eruption, and then you blow up one of their Pokemon, and then you Eruption into Instruct. So, against like very straightforward teams, if you can outspeed it and you have an Oranguru on your side, you just win. So it's going to cause a lot more creativity, but also depending on what else Oranguru gets, it might be able to respond to a very wide variety of opposing teams and just let you win off of some crazy sweeping and stuff. I was also thinking about some other things, you know, it doesn't have to be just Eruption or a move that hits both opponents. It could be a single target nuke that you use twice, you know, maybe Outrage could be a good potential right here. Last Resort for sure. So you protect, and then Oranguru does some kind of shenanigan buffing supportive move, and then you Last Resort, and then Oranguru goes for Instruct. So you Last Resort, knock out an opponent Pokemon, then you Last Resort, and you knock out the other opposing Pokemon, and then you win. Also, Oranguru could just protect, so you double protect on first turn. Last Resort, Instruct. Oh, that's so scary. That's so scary. Imagine on something like a Mega Lopunny, it has Scrappy. The opponent can't even Ghost type wall you. No, that's way too much. That's scary. And there's also other really scary Pokemon. Like, okay, so these immediately after moves and abilities and synergies that happen like this, it seems to be some kind of crazy trend in Pokemon Sun and Moon because we have Oricorio. Now, Oricorio actually gets two things. It gets a unique move and a unique ability. Now, the unique move is actually really interesting. Revelation Dance, its type changes based on Oricorio's current style. So depending on the type that your Oricorio is, it's also going to be the type of Revelation Dance, which means automatic stab. And also, since it's like a signature move, what if it has 90 base power, 100 base power? A lot of signature moves, or like a lot of those really awkward moves, sometimes have 100 base power into stab. And then you could also use that for other things. Okay, so doesn't look like it's going to be a Brave Bird Pokemon, or we also don't know if it's going to be primarily physical or special. But overall, if like you need a Ghost type move that's really powerful, boom, Sensu style. You need a Fire type move, boom, melts away like Ferrothorn and any Pokemon that's weak against fire like that, and now you also have a lot of craziness going for you. That's not even it. That's not even it. The Dancer ability is one of the most ridiculous things in the coolest way possible. Like, there is combo potential, there's outplay potential, there is a lot of really great stuff that can come from the Dancer ability. So, has the Dancer ability, no, the Pokemon's had before. If another Pokemon on the field uses a dancing move, Oricorio will be able to use that same move immediately afterward. It gets a free move. It could use 2 moves in 1 turn if the opponent decides to use a dancing move. Or you can also switch in for free. Oh, you switch in. It's like giving up your turn. No, and it's also even scarier if you use like U-turn or Volt Switch. So you outspeed them with U-turn or Volt Switch. You bring in Oricorio, they go for Dragon Dance, Swords Dance. Actually, wait, we have a list right here. So also it's going to be interesting as to the new dancing moves that might be introduced. We already know Revelation Dance is going to be a dance move. So if you're going up against an opposing Oricorio, that you Revelation Dance to Revelation Dance, and then you use Revelation Dance to Revelation Dance. So pretty much the faster person, whoever wins that speed tie, is going to nuke the other Oricorio. Or anything like that. Copying the Dancer ability could lead to some really silly stuff. But what I was talking about is, you're like, yeah, look at all these dancing moves. So, you say you Volt Switch a Dragonite. You see Dragonite, you don't want to deal with that. You break the multi-scale, first off. You go into Oricorio, and then now you're going to have access to its Dragon Dance. So it uses Dragon Dance, you use Dragon Dance, so you get 2 moves in that turn as well. Or if you just switch into Oricorio, now you match Dragon Dances. So it's going to be interesting to see its stats. As you can see right here, we have Dragon Dance and Swords Dance. These are going to be physical. So if Oricorio is a fast Pokemon, it's going to want the Swords Dance. If it's not too fast of a Pokemon, Dragon Dance is still going to work very well. But if it's not a physical attacker, then Quiver Dance is going to be what it wants. But Quiver Dance is seen much less often. However, double battles! Because Dancer works on all Pokemon on the field, you know? If another Pokemon on the field uses a dancing move. So you have Oricorio next to a Quiver Dance Pokemon, like Volcarona. Yo, that's scary to think about. Also, that means you can have a different style. You know, you can go with the electric style next to Volcarona. Volcarona's going to be providing Bug, Fire, and then now you have Flying and Electric on your side as well. So getting some decent coverage between the 2 Pokemon. But Oricorio, it gets to use... So there's so many weird things that you can like try to set up with this Pokemon. Now, technically, you do want the dancing allied Pokemon to be faster, because then Oricorio is going to be taking advantage of that. Say, Swords Dance. You have a Swords Dance Pokemon that has a good amount of speed. Now, Oricorio copies that, and it's using a +2 attack for free. People thought that, like, Parental Bond Kangaskhan was scary. This is still a free +2 while using a stronger move, and on turn 1. So, if Revelation Dance synergizes with that, even if it synergizes with Quiver Dance, that's dangerous. That is very, very dangerous. And as you can see, double battles is already nuts. Are you going to play the Passimian combo? Are you going to play the Oranguru combo? Are you going to play the Oricorio combo? What about all the existing combos that are already pretty strong? Like, there's so many weird things that could happen, and it's absolutely fantastic. Next up, we're going to talk about Lycanroc, because its midday form gets Excel Rock. Excel Rock is a priority Rock-type move, and Lycanroc gets it, so it's a stab priority move. I wanted to do a little bit of mock damage calculation right here. So we have a Talonflame, OU, Revenge Killer, whatever, standard Talonflame, and I modified a Jolteon. So this Jolteon, for all intents and purposes, Rock type using Excel Rock, Quick Attack, that's a Rock type move, and Jolly Nature. So at 65 base attack, Jolly Nature, we are doing a lot of damage. We're doing like 80% of Talonflame's health off of just Excel Rock. Now, all we have to do is just, like, change these stats around. What if Lycanroc has 100 base attack? Oh, cool. We're one-shotting a Talonflame, or let's say 105, just to make sure it's a 100% one-shot. 105 attack for Lycanroc is all it takes to one-shot Talonflame with no item. You give Lycanroc a Life Orb, and then those are going to get a lot, like, lower numbers. So, where's Life Orb? Boom. And, let's try something like 75 attack. Okay. At 75 base attack with a Life Orb, you'll be able to one-shot Talonflames, so that applies to a lot of other things. And that means you're also two-shotting Flying-type Pokemon. And if Talonflame is already entered with Stealth, yeah, pretty much, Lycanroc is the ultimate answer. Flying-type Pokemon are giving your team a problem, just run a Lycanroc, and they don't get to do anything. However, this is where it gets interesting. Much how Talonflame has a 126 base speed, but an ability that makes it have priority. It seems the same for Lycanroc in a weird way, that Lycanroc seems to be built as like a super fast, agile Pokemon. It's all about being fast and being undetectably fast and stuff. So what if this Pokemon does have a 130 base speed? Even a 120 base speed seems like overkill and a waste of stats, which means you're already outspeeding a very small amount of Pokemon. I mean, with Talonflame, only 21 Pokemon are faster than Talonflame, and we can see it. You know, Legendary, Legendary, Legendary. A lot of them are Megas, Legendary, Legendary, and then Mythical on the Shaman. So Talonflame's not getting like a lot out of its Gale Wings. It's mostly peace of mind and like really weird scenarios where like your opponent's using Tailwind or something, or you've suffered some kind of speed loss. So it does work out like that, but it's going to be the same for Lycanroc. Alright, say it has a 125 base speed. Well, then it's pretty much going to be the same. Even all the way down to like 120. If it's 120, only 30 Pokemon outspeed it, and some of them are flying. Like, alright, you'll be able to bust down Noivern, Pidgeot, and Tornadus and stuff. But it shows that, okay, as long as it's fast, but not too fast, then the Excel Rock makes sense. If not, you might as well just be throwing out, like, Rock Slide and stuff, because you're already going to be an incredibly fast Pokemon. Now, when you look at it, there's actually, like, I don't even remember what the fastest, like, Rock-type Pokemon is. It looks like it's Aerodactyl. So it'd effectively be on, like, the Aerodactyl range, but Aerodactyl 130 attack using stuff is going to be close to the Excel Rock. And even then, Aerodactyl has a 105 attack, so it does have that priority move, which is really scary to think about, but it could just be worse than an Aerodactyl. So it's a less weakness-prone Pokemon, I guess. But if it doesn't have 130 base speed and 105 attack, it might be a little more durable and bulky because it's a Rock-type Pokemon. But if it doesn't get the things just right, then it's going to be like Aerodactyl, which people aren't using a lot, unfortunately. I think Aerodactyl is awesome and a very strong Pokemon. So dangerous game right here. And then we look at the Midnight form. Not really sure what to make of the Midnight form. Like, it's the same Pokemon. It's Lycanroc. It's a pure Rock type, but it gets different abilities. So I'm wondering if it's going to get different stats as well. This doesn't look like a bulky, durable, defensive Pokemon. Seems a little fragile and whatnot, but it has counter, so it wants opponents to attack it. I'm also not sure as to how Lycanroc is going to work out, but there is one benefit, the Keen Eye ability. So compared to Vital Spirit, Keen Eye is probably going to be the better bet, and then compared to Sandrush, since this is already supposedly supposed to be a very fast Pokemon, Keen Eye seems to be the best bet. So that means if your opponent is trying to play Evasion, Minimize, Double Team, whatever shenanigans against you, you'll at least be able to hit through that, which is something Aerodactyl doesn't have, so might work out. Seems pretty decent, and we'll have to see. The stats need to be pretty nutty, but could be just an average Pokemon at best. Next up, we have Komala. So now getting the Pokemon that we've seen for a while and understanding stuff. Komala, normal Pokemon, Comatose ability, most likely going to get some kind of evolution, and then we have to think about it like that. So I didn't do this. I was thinking maybe I should have brought up Pangoro, because we look at Pangoro's base stat total, and that might be something to think about for Komala's base stat total, but we need to talk about the Comatose ability. It's always drowsy, which means it can't get any other status conditions. It can only fall asleep, which means it's immune to burn, it's immune to freezing, it's immune to paralysis, which is actually really not, this Pokemon has that built in for free. So it can be a good setup Pokemon. It might be a really awesome like standard tank if it gets that, you know, if it plays really off of its log pillow. You know, that log pillow could be used like a shield. Maybe that factors into its defenses in some way. The Pokemon technically is alive and moves around and attacks and stuff. So that's why I want to go and bring up Pangoro. Just see like what kind of base stats we might be playing with when it comes to the Pangoro. Because it only has a 495. That's not a lot. So hopefully Kamal actually gets boosted up more, you know, it's maybe a 520 or something like that, and then its defenses are going to be pretty nice, solid hit point stat, and then it might be able to do some bulky things. As a normal type Pokemon, also gets access potentially to all kinds of crazy moves. I guess it's going to like learn Sleep Talk as it naturally levels up and stuff. Might be able to do some damage. So it's a really weird Pokemon, but the ability, keep an eye out for it. If it has a strong moveset, it could be useful just off of that ability, and that'd be pretty nice. Next up, we have Mudsdale. No question as to Mudsdale is going to be really, really good. So first off, it's a massive Pokemon. 8 foot tall, 2,000 pounds. This is a dense Pokemon. And that could show that this is going to be a very tanky Pokemon, but also gives a lot of really good stuff with the stamina ability. So Mudsdale has a stamina ability. Whenever it's hit by an attack, its defense goes up by 1. Wait, what? Whenever it's hit by an attack, its defense goes up by 1? That's so free. So it looks like it's going to be a bulky Pokemon. I brought up the base stats on ground type, you know. Fully evolved ground type Pokemon, average 90 base hit points, which is really good, 80 on defense, which is alright, and then 103 on defense, 80 on special defense. So, yeah, 90 100s is really strong, and that's the average for a fully evolved Pokemon. So depending on how Mudsdale is going to look, it could have better stats than even that, which is really crazy, scary thing to think about. And then you just give it a Assault Vest, because it's meant to be a stamina Pokemon. It's meant to endure many hits, and it could very well have a decent or good attack stat. You know, one kick and a car is a pile of scrap. What you could do is just Baton Pass Swords Dance. You know, Swords Dance, Baton Pass into Mudsdale, just to make sure you can top off the damage, and then you're one-shotting everything while getting tankier. And then Assault Vest, alright, Assault Vest makes it to where you're very difficult to knock down because of your special defense. After you take a hit, your defense goes up. After you take a hit, your defense goes up. So really, you're going to be a very well-rounded tank that has just a lot of offensive power. I'm guessing from what I've seen, like in trends and other Pokemon stuff, it isn't going to be like a sustaining Pokemon, you know, it's not going to get like recover or anything like that. It's not meant to be a tank, it's meant to be a bruiser Pokemon. Take a hit, be a bulk offense, and from what item options we have and what's going to happen with its stamina ability, Mudsdale looks like it's going to be a pretty powerful Pokemon, and it'd be really interesting to see this guy just become a part of the meta. Like, that would be actually really nice to see, like, some of these new Pokemon being introduced and immediately working their way into being a solid threat. So next up, Sandygast. I don't want to talk about Sandygast too much. I just want to follow it up because it has water compaction ability. Defense goes up by 2 if it's hit by a water type move. Now, this isn't like Water Absorb, that, you know, you absorb the water type move, you don't take damage, and then you gain +2 on the defense. No, this is, you take the damage, and then your defense goes up by 2, but water type moves are mostly special. I guess you'll see a waterfall from time to time. Pretty much it's going to be Scald. Scald and Hydro Pump. So, if also, depending on how this Pokemon is, it's ground type Pokemon, so as we saw with like ground typings, not really going to have more special defense than defense on average. So this seems like a very defensive Pokemon, but if it just crumbles the special defense, then it doesn't make sense on the water compaction. It's a ghost type, so it could get some really weird things, like it could pain split. It might be like a ghost ground Cofagrigus in a way, depending on what else it's capable of. So unless its stats are absolutely like Ferrothorn levels of tankiness, it just might be a silly Pokemon. Also, I don't like its design too much. I know that shouldn't really matter when it comes to competitive, but I don't really like talking about this Pokemon. We'll see. I'll probably eat my words when we see that this Pokemon turns out to be like the most standard tank in Pokemon Sun and Moon. But the ability is kind of awkward and nonsensical, so maybe it'll just fall to the side like a Golurk or something. Next up, we have Beware. So I'm only going to do 2 more, Beware and then Minior, and then we'll be done for this, and then I guess I'll cover up the last of the Pokemon in the last video for the series. So Beware. Strong Arm Pokemon gets the Fluffy ability. Fluffy makes it to where if a Pokemon makes direct contact, it takes half the damage. Technically works for some special attacks. I'm thinking that the biggest one I can think of right now is Draining Kiss. So Draining Kiss technically affected by Fluffy even though it's a special attack. But then there's also some physical attacks that don't make contact like Psycho Cut. But for most intents and purposes, physical attacks going to benefit from Fluffy. However, don't get caught with a fire type move because it effectively gives you a fire type weakness. Now, Fluffy seems good. Beware seems like a very strong Pokemon. I'm guessing it's going to be similar to Kinkeldurr, maybe a bit faster and a bit less bulky. But the Klutz ability is an ability that a lot of Pokemon don't really get, and this seems like it might get Trick. So what you can do with Klutz and Trick is you can trick Assault Vest on the Pokemon and permanently shut them down. You know, it's not like a taunt, it's not like a Scarf trick that's more or less just an inconvenience, but I mean, if you trick an Assault Vest onto a Pokemon that's primarily status, it doesn't get to do anything, and I've been shut down by it before, so there's probably going to be some niche play about that if you see that, you might have to go, oh, is it Fluffy or Klutz? If it's Klutz, it might want to trick my status Pokemon with an Assault Vest, and also the Assault Vest is really deceptive as well, because, hey, you can run Fluffy Assault Vest Beware, or you can run Klutz Assault Vest Beware, and they both work really well. So it seems like it's going to be a powerful Pokemon. It's normal fighting, so Return's going to do a lot of damage, and then it might also have access to, like, Power Punch, so Assault Vest Power Punch into Snowbally moves, and then Beware could be a pretty solid threat. And then last up, we have Minior. I'm excited for Minior. As a tanky Pokemon battler that loves tank and setup, Minior's amazing. Shields Down ability. No other Pokemon has had before. With the Shields Down ability, it has excellent defensive capability. So, maybe it has 110 in defense and special defense. It looks like it has low hit points, so it might be like Rotom's alternate forms. You know, like Rotom Wash level of tankiness. Maybe a little bit tankier because of the Shields Down ability. So, it's temporarily tankier than a Rotom, which I like that idea. And it's protected from status conditions while it's in its Meteor. Oh, snap! That is actually really cool. But then after that, it flips the switch. When its hit points drop below half, it'll break and then change to better suited to attacking. Now, as a rock flying Pokemon, who knows what it could be? It looks like a special attacker, but it isn't like psychic or anything. It's straight up rock flying. So physical would probably be better for the moveset, kind of, but not, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what this Pokemon can do offensively. Like, if it is a special attacker, might get elemental attacks because it is like a meteor Pokemon's from outer space. So those Pokemon get some weird coverage because they're technically not held to our standard conventions of the Pokemon world. I don't know, I'm just getting weird right now. Either way, my thoughts. You set up like Iron Defense, and then you set up some Calm Minds, then your Shields Down breaks, and then you're fast and you beat everything up because you gain stats. I would prefer special attacking because, yeah, you can do that. And then if you set up an Iron Defense, and then your shields go down, well, now you have that tankiness of the Iron Defense, so it's still going to be pretty difficult to deal with you. You can status it, but if it does gain special attack and stuff, you know, 2 Calm Minds, might have recover, you know, Calm Mind, recover into 2 offensive moves could be really nice, or if it doesn't have recover, you just Iron Defense, you bulk up as much as possible, and then you hang on to like Citrus Berry and stuff to try to get the most out of it, and then hopefully when it becomes an attacker, you have enough stats. So I actually really like that shift. I really like the potential of being able to set up as a tank and then shift that momentum over and then beat down my opponent. You know, when you play tanky setup like Clefable, Mega Sableye, you still sit there as a tanky Pokemon that's not really doing a whole lot of damage. So the opponent technically, I guess, decides when this happens for me. But if played properly and played as a really strong, like, tanky battler, this could get really interesting. I'm really excited to see that happen. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video competitive pre-look. Man, this went on for a while, but there's a lot of Pokemon to talk about, a lot of crazy stuff, and we'll keep this series up. So, I'll catch you guys next time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.